Hi, my name is Jared, and this is Horror Obsession. Today, I want to talk about Prey 2022, the newest entry in the Predator franchise. The Predator franchise started off with Predator 1987, an excellent, self contained action/horror about a special forces group being hunted by an alien, in what amounts to a slasher movie, except the victims are not helpless teenagers. Schwarzenegger was excellent in the lead role, but all the rest of the characters really excelled in bringing the material to life. And burdened with the extreme popularity of the movie, a sequel was released 3 years later, creatively titled Predator 2, aka Predator Heads West. Instead of a literal jungle, the Predator hunts people in the concrete jungle of late 80s LA, fittingly depicted as a cesspool of crime and murder. The movie received mixed reviews, and the franchise was shelved for years until the disastrous attempt to cross the franchise over with Alien, which we are not going to talk about here. It's best if we collectively forget those movies ever existed, and unless you were gifted with the superpower of night vision, it is likely you have already forgotten. Along comes Predators 2010, a fun little movie starring Adrian Brody, aka the pianist, as a mercenary dropped into an alien world to be hunted by predators. This movie suffered from mediocre writing and plot, though the characters were alright, I guess. I didn't hate it, and at least it was creative. Looking back, it was basically a rehash of the original, but whatever. The point is, the movie was fine. Then comes The Predator, 2018, written and directed by Shane Black, who has written some actually good movies and was one of the soldiers from the original. The movie, however, was fucking terrible, with a brace of characters that got on my nerves instantly, a ridiculously stupid plot, horrible acting led by Keegan Michael Key, and turning the Predator into a boss from a video game, something which could be shot thousands of times and be totally fine. The Predator seemed to be the end of the line, a crushing disappointment which used up all of the remaining goodwill the franchise had. So then I hear a movie by the name of Prey 2022 is coming out, and that they have a brand new premise. Based on the past 35 years of this franchise, I can't say I was thrilled to hear this news, expecting another cookie cutter, money grab entry designed to squeeze the cash out of unsuspecting audiences before they even realize they're being robbed. My expectations didn't get any higher when it was revealed the movie would be released directly to streaming and only on streaming. This is typically reserved for movies the studio is trying to hide for some reason and feels the marketing and exposure a theater release generates will actually be a detriment to the studio and franchise instead of a boon. So I watched the movie last night, and I must say, damn, my expectations were totally blown out of the water. I don't think this movie is a masterpiece, and it certainly isn't one of the best horror movies ever, but it is one of the best Predator movies ever, and in my opinion is the second best in the franchise behind the original. There will be some mild spoilers in this review, but I wrote it with the intention to avoid talking about any major plot points, so feel free to keep watching if you haven't seen it yet. Prey follows Naru, played by Amber Midthunder, an actress I hadn't heard of before, but I suspect will start to be cast in some big roles in the very near future. Naru is a young Comanche in America about 300 years ago, and she wants to join the men hunting, but is relegated to mostly gathering berries and helping out with cooking and medicine, a victim of traditional gender roles. Naru is out in the forest, looking for a mountain lion so she and the other warriors can kill it and prevent the lion from killing anyone in the tribe, when she stumbles across a bizarre footprint. It is huge, and unlike anything she has ever seen. The rest of the tribe shrugs it off, believing it to be a bear print, but Naru is convinced something unusual is happening. When she can't convince anyone of her belief, she takes matters into her own hands and heads out to try and protect the village by finding the creature that made the print and killing it. Prey is not a complex movie, but there were so many ways this movie could have failed, but instead it ends up succeeding in almost every way. The acting is fantastic, despite being primarily led by lesser known actors and actresses, including Dakota Beavers playing Tabi, who has a musical career, but Prey was his first acting role and he crushes it. The rest of the cast is fine, and certainly not distracting, which is good because the cinematography is gorgeous. And the landscape shots are majestic, and it's worth watching the movie to be transported back to a time before industrialization. There is care to show the tribe as accurately as possible, utilizing the land and trees to create weapons that are period appropriate. though the way Naru throws a hatchet and then retrieves it with the wood string is kinda silly, and borders on fantasy like Legolas in Lord of the Rings, but mostly the movie is very grounded and takes its premise seriously. The kills are brutally violent, and the movie does not hold back at all. Predator movies are at their best when the core concept is embraced. An alien force is hunting you, and there is not much you can do to stop it from killing you and gutting you according to its own alien culture. The theme of hunting, dominance, and protecting family and land are all explored in reasonable detail, and the movie is actually pretty scary along the way. The action is well choreographed and shot, with dynamic camera movements and blocking which keep the scenes fresh, and at no point do they feel repetitive. I was worried the Predator would have the exact same technology that it did in the original movie, which, remember, takes place 300 years later. The Predators are clearly much more advanced than us, having invisibility in spaceships, and the internal logic of the story is the Predators are sent to Earth as a sort of rite of passage. They hunt humans and collect trophies and prove themselves good hunters, aka Predators. It wouldn't make sense for them to use the same technology they do in the original, even if they had it back then, because the shoulder cannon would be extremely unfair against people wielding bows and arrows. And the movie recognizes this, and the technology is different and appropriate. This leaves room for the audience not knowing exactly what the capabilities of the Predator are, which is the same boat the actual characters in the story are in, and syncing up these perspectives really helps drive the suspense. Another aspect I was worried about was the role Naru would play in the narrative. The plucky young female who wants to transcend the gender roles of the time is a familiar story by now, and the major pitfall which I find damaging to young audiences is when these characters succeed immediately and without trials and tribulations. Good storytelling has their characters sacrifice in order to achieve their wants and needs, not immediately become the greatest ever at something. A bad message for young women is, you are the best, and don't need to apply yourself or work hard, and if you fail, it isn't because of a lack of effort, it is because of the unfair system you are in. Prey tells this story the right way, with Naru wanting to be good at hunting and having talent, but the primary skills she possesses are gained through constant, repetitive practice. She is seen working on her hatchet throwing all the time, probably 5 or 6 times during the movie before she starts using it in combat. She isn't good because she is naturally gifted, she is good because she works her ass off. Furthermore, she is pretty good at tracking, and perhaps better than the other warriors, but when it comes to fighting, her brother, Tabi, is far superior. This makes sense, considering he has been working at it for much longer than she has, and men have a natural strength advantage. Naru isn't particularly clever either, though she does have moments of using her wits to save herself. She is a quick learner. However, her tenacity is her main character trait. She is so tenacious, in fact, it is a character flaw at times, but her desire to be a great warrior pushes her to pursue her goals way beyond what the average person would do, demonstrating that with enough hard work, perseverance, and dedication, dreams can be achieved. What a strange theme to explore for a Predator movie, but there you go. Overall, Prey is a very good movie that I really enjoyed. I did not think I would enjoy it as much as I did, and I highly recommend it to anyone considering watching it. The story is good, the characters are great, there are themes and motifs if you are into that sort of thing, and most of all, the Predator is very well crafted, and it is clear there was a lot of thought put into the world building and design of the Predator and the world. The kills are inventive and make this feel like the first real horror since the original. A return to form I hope the producers keep in mind when they inevitably release a sequel. Having a technologically advanced monster hunting humans is an inherently scary premise. Just embrace it, and keep making action horror. And I'm not saying that just because I personally have a horror obsession.